is just a number, they say. Is it though? How old is too old when it comes to running a country? That is now a critical question in American politics, with the presidential election a little over a year away and the present incumbent, Joe Biden, and former President Donald Trump being the primary contenders for the White House at this point in time. It's quite simple. Biden, at the ripe old age of 80, is already the oldest president in American history. His Republican rival, Trump, isn't far behind at 76 years. And both these men have thrown their hat into the presidential ring for a second time, hoping to win the Democratic and Republican Party nominations for 2024. On the show today, we're analyzing the scenario of two old white men dominating the US presidential race next year. Biden would be 82 on election day in 2024 and 86 years old at the end of a second presidential term if he were to win it. His approval ratings remain low by historical standards, and according to an NBC News poll, 70% of Americans and over 50% of Democrats believe that Biden should not run again, primarily on account of his age. Of course, what could work to his advantage is the fact that Biden at the moment is not facing any serious Democratic rivals for the party's candidature. Let's now turn our attention to Trump. As we said, the man is 76 years old. Many Republicans have concerns about his electability, as the former president, who was recently arrested, is embroiled in multiple court cases for alleged fraud, tax evasion. There is the murky Stormy Daniels hush money case, even a rape case against him. Now contrast this with some of America's most successful presidents: Franklin D. Roosevelt, John F. Kennedy, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. They were all in their 40s or 50s when they assumed office. Let's now also take a look at America's demographics. The country has a sizable population of elderly citizens. Nearly half of the population is non-white, and this number is growing. Of course, there is Vice President Kamala Harris, America's first woman vice president and first vice president of color, who offers hope for diversity in the top echelons of power in the United States. And it is equally true that the 118th US Congress is the most racially and ethnically diverse in history, with 133 members who identify as Black, Hispanic, Asian, American, Indian, Alaska Native or multiracial. The question we're asking, though, is this: how will Americans, especially the youth, see two old white men running for the highest office in the United States, and indeed the most powerful office in the world? As I said, we all know that President Biden is the oldest American president in history. He is 80 years today. He will be 82 on election day in 2024, and if he does win another term, at the end of it, he will be 86 years old. The man who seems to be his closest rival, at least at this point in time, is Donald Trump, who's only 4 years behind in age at 76. The question I want to ask you is, sir, that even though America does have a sizable elderly population, how do you think the more than 50% non-white population and a vast majority of young Americans are likely to view this White House race, which is, it seems, going to be dominated by two old white men? How is that likely to play out in 2024?
Well, thank you very much, ma'am. You put it across so brilliantly. No wonder you are one of our best anchors and your network is so popular. Thank you so much. You put it well. You know, may I just put it, it's the battle of the oldies. Neither of them is a goldie. Now, one of these fellows, I call him Buddhu, and that's Biden the Buddhu. And the other fellow is Trump the terrorist. Now, these two characters is going to be a rematch. I've been in touch with several of my friends, and in the dozens in the United States. None, and I repeat, none of them wants this rematch. There are a lot of people who, despite the numbers, say the economy is tanking. There are people who say that Biden has taken us to war, practically, in Ukraine. We've never even heard of the Ukraine. There are others who say that this old man falls asleep, he doesn't know what he's talking about. All our former friends used to love us, even though to some extent he managed to revitalize the NATO alliance. On the other hand, Donald Trump, the geopolitical arsonist, he is loved by a sizable section of his party and hated by the others. You love him, you hate him, you can't ignore the man. And he's already announced that he is running again. Now, both of them. What does this mean? That there are no young, inspiring challengers. What's happened to the John Kennedys of the world? What's happened to the Barack Obamas of the world? America is not a society where the median age is 49 like it is in Japan. India is 29. America is in the mid-30s. There should be a lot of young people. Are they sick of politics? Are they tired with the political system that they don't want to come in? I mean, when I was there, ma'am, posted in the United States, there was another old geezer chap called Ronald Reagan. But he was very good. He was avuncular. He was an uncle. And he won the election quite handily. Today, I feel young people are not interested. They've had it. There are far too many other things. There's joblessness. There's rising prices. There's social collapse. And every time, we read stories of a young girl pulling into the wrong driveway and a chap comes out and shoots her. There's economic collapse. We are seeing the difficulty. There's political slanging. I was there 4 years ago, ma'am, and I'm going to the US tomorrow. There were 4 years ago when Joe Biden and Donald Trump had that debate. Trump kept interrupting. And Joe Biden said to him, "Shut up, man. That's not the kind of thing you expect in the United States. You might expect it in our neighboring country that fights with us." So we're going to see a repeat. It's a repeat that no one wants. Trump has repeated the claim that the election last time was stolen from him. You recall that the 6th January riots, the storming of Capitol Hill was a direct result of that. I don't know what's going to happen. Trump has so many cases, as you rightly pointed out, rape and fraud and whatever. Joe Biden, on the other hand, the Hunter Biden episode is not yet over. So neither of them is totally clean. I suspect that the average American, if there is such a thing, the average Joe, he's just about had it. He says, look, how does it matter? America is America. America will bounce back. It has this ability to self-correct. But today, the vast majority of Americans believe the country the two men led back to back is on the wrong track. A recent NBC News survey says 70% of the respondents felt Joe Biden shouldn't run. 60% said Trump shouldn't run. So I don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be interesting to watch how America reinvents itself from a young, dynamic nation. That was America's strength, from the time of its independence, to one that is run by geriatrics who can barely stand straight. Be interesting to see what happens.
Well, you've made a series of very interesting and important points, but I must say the way you framed this contest, Buddhu versus arsonist, that does sound very, very scary. I think Americans should be worried after listening to you, Ambassador Vora.